Good afternoon. Well, good morning to you, Randy.
Good morning to you. And you know what? It's really my honor to be the first guest on our new podcast, Two Brothers
Absolutely.
and Another Mother. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to thank you for bearing with me while I get the kinks out and everything. I think I've got it all figured out now.
Good.
And you look phenomenal, my man.
Just another outfit I pulled out of the closet.
I know. How many closets do you actually have?
My clothes are in every single closet in the house. I think there's 5 or 6 of them. And sometimes if I'm looking for a particular outfit, it takes me a while to find it because it's buried somewhere in a closet.
Now, where do you find these outfits? I mean, it's got to be tough. I mean, first of all, the fit, but second of all, the look.
They're all custom made for me out of Italy. And
oh, really?
Yeah, they're about $2,000 a pop.
Wow.
Plus, the shirts are all custom made. The ruffles, the ascots, the crossover ties, all that's custom made by seamstress here in Boise. And then I have a lot of brooches and, bling bling, but I don't wear my outfits that often anymore because I'm not really in the public eye except when I do interviews. So right. My dry cleaning bill has dropped immensely.
Yeah, I asked you about that yesterday. I thought maybe, wow, that would be your biggest bill.
It was when I was doing Rod's limos full time, it was hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month.
Wow.
Keeping them. I've got clothes that are 25, 30 years old that still look like they're brand new because I keep really good care of my stuff, and
yeah, sure.
Because I can't replace any of it. It's all one of a kind,
Now, what I want to talk about to start, we're going to have great conversations. Musicians, actors, scientists, all sorts of different people. But you wrote a book.
Yes.
And I'd like to talk about that to start. A Moment in Time, Living in the Shadows, I believe.
That's correct, Amunde. Yes.
Talk to me about how that happened.
Well, I originally had the book written in 2000 by another writer, and it was a linear timeline. So it started from when I was born till 2001, and we went to the attorneys to have them look it over, and the attorneys and the writer were really scared about my brother suing us over this book. Even though I've only seen him 5 times in 40 years.
Sure.
So they got cold feet, and I said, don't you understand? That's exactly what I want to happen. Just have my brother sue me. Because why would my brother sue me because of my life story? Because I'm the keeper of the truth and the secrets. Right. So I fired them all. And I sat on the book for 10 years. And then, as is described in the book, when I was very young, my father used to beat me to force me to read with a writing crop. And if I mispronounced a word or didn't do something right, whack. So what my father didn't realize at the time is that what he was doing to me was making reading and writing a hindrance to my life because of how I associated reading and writing psychologically. So I decided to go back to college in 2012 and get another degree. This time I got associate science degree in education, and I had to get over that phobia real fast.
Yeah.
So I went to college for 3 years and graduated on the dean's list. And it was quite an accomplishment for me to beat that one particular demon that my father had ingrained in my head. And So I'm happy about that. And then about 2-3 months after I graduated, I realized that I was probably the only person that could write my book, and that a writer wouldn't be able to capture the rawness of child abuse and all kinds of forms of abuse. So I sat down in my office and I wrote it in 47 days, 96,500 words, and I never shed a tear. I believe I was divinely inspired to write this book. And just a couple of days ago, I ran into a lady that said that she had bought my book, and I signed it for her, and she read it. She said, the book was written brilliantly. She goes, I especially like the fact that it was so raw. And I said, well, I told it like it was, you know.
Well, you're a pretty raw, straightforward guy. And
I am now.
You told me, yeah, exactly. You told me you weren't always that way.
No, I spent most of my life as a professional drummer, so I was buried behind my drum set. I didn't have to interact with the audience. I was completely isolated to where I could just concentrate on trying to get through the night without making a horrible mistake. And I never went out in the audience and chatted with people, anything like that. It wasn't until I had retired from music, and I got a part-time job at a place here in Boise called Maverick Food Stores.
That's where I met you.
Yes, and that I got that job because the writer who wrote the first book suggested that it would probably be good for me to be able to start socializing out in public and learn how to talk to strangers. And so I got this job, and I fell into it just smooth as pie. I mean, it was so easy for me to talk because I had already, articulated my thoughts in the first book. So I had already puked up the big green worm, as Trish described it, and was continuing my healing process. So I worked there for a couple of years, I think. And when I retired from that gig, they asked me for my Maverick vest, and they took an 8x10 photo of me and they put it in a big picture frame, and they hung it in the corporate office.
That's awesome.
Because I was such a popular employee. There'd be a line of people at my register and nobody in line at the other register. And I was like,
oh, dude, the only reason I went to that Maverick was you. Now, I think I told you how I first met you. I met you at Les Bois.
The old racetrack, yeah.
The racetrack. And it was, the big race. And my girlfriend at the time and we showed up, and you were dressed to the nines and looking hot, man. And you know how it is. You look at somebody and you try and figure out, who is that guy? Wow.
Most people probably think, oh, that guy's gay.
No. I looked at you and I was just like, that guy he's a star. And I walked up to you and we talked for about 2 minutes. And then I met you at Maverick afterwards. Now, I had no idea who you were. I knew your name, Randy. And then I worked at DirecTV. And one of your coworkers, I can't remember his name, but he had the gauge earrings, and somehow we got to talk about, when he worked at Maverick. And I was like, oh, dude, do you know that guy, Randy? And he told me all about you. And I became fascinated by you. And the one thing I wish I was about 80 pounds smaller so I could wear some of your outfits like you offered me yesterday.
Well, you got your job now.
So talk about the book. Tell me, I really want to know how you wrote that so fast when you hadn't written, and you had that you had that issue with writing and reading before that.
Yeah, well, I wrote it right after I graduated from college. So I had already beaten the reading and writing phobia. So I just sat down and did it. Like I said, 47 days. And I wrote the book in hopings to just help one child, one adult, one teenager,
Beautiful.
not to have to live the life I lived for the first 40 years of my life, living with silence and how dangerous it is to your soul. Silence is the killer of souls. And it turned out that I've helped a whole lot of people with this book, and with letters and emails and Facebook posts and things like that. And people have told me that I'm better than their therapist that they've been seeing for 20 years. And I'm like, well, that's because I lived it and I wrote everything about it. I didn't leave out any of the dark secrets or things that might have embarrassed me.
No, you didn't.
I put it all in there because I thought it was really important for the thread of the tapestry I was trying to weave. So I decided to write the book non-linear. So I broke up the book in 15 topics, which automatically made it go from past to future, like that.
Sure.
And that's the way I did it. And I'm really proud that I was able to, finish it. And I realized that I was never going to get a publisher because of my brother's clout in Hollywood at the time, and that I had better just self-publish. So I made it available on Amazon, and it's got 778 photos out of about 250,000,
Right.
all laid out through the book to go with the manuscript. It's like photographic evidence. And the electronic version is all in color, and then I have a paperback version, which is in black and white. And it's a tabletop book, it's about 8.5 by 11, and I'm very pleased with how the book has been received. There's always going to be those type of people that because they're Kevin Spacey fans, they're going to dislike the book even though they've never read it, they've never met me, they know nothing about me, they don't know my story or my background. So I've learned to grow tough skin when it comes to criticism and critiquing my book. And I'm okay with that because my book is not meant for those people.
No.
My book is meant for people that are so frightened of the perpetrator that they're afraid to articulate it and speak it, all the horrors of abuse. And that's who the book's for. So helping one person was my original goal, and the book is done far better than I could have ever possibly imagined. So I'm pleased with it,
Now, you mentioned, I don't think we even talked about this. Your brother is Kevin Spacey.
That's correct.
Now, we talked about some things about your past and possible things about his past, which of course you don't know. Now, can you tell me about the book and what the focus of the book is about?
After laying out the timeline of the book, all in order, took about 18 months to scan in the first original 65,000 documents, letters, photos, bits of information that would bring back memories to me, diary pages, all kinds of graphs, log books, everything. And when I started putting it together, I started to see a pattern emerging. And it turned out from when I was abused until I met Trish in 1995, every decision that I made in my life was wrong. Every single one was incorrect. And it's because I made all of my decisions based on my feelings and not the facts. So now my feelings don't mean anything. All that matters are the facts. And that's what helped me heal myself with the help of Trish. You know, I was able to examine my life and see all the mistakes that I made, the 3 marriages that never turned out the way they should have been. And each one of those marriages probably could have lasted a lifetime if it hadn't been for me, and the way I was. So that's what the book is all about. It just talks about all these poor decisions that I made because I couldn't talk about it. I kept it all inside, and I kept making all these important decisions based on some silly feelings and not the facts, which inevitably will get you into trouble, which happened to me throughout my life. As I said, it wasn't until I met Trish that I decided to break the mold. I decided that, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and tell this woman who I am and where I came from, so she knows right up front who she's getting involved with. And obviously she was shocked to hear about, what happened to me as a child, but it didn't deter her from just loving me for who I am. So she gave me the space and the time needed to write the first book, heal myself, and move on with my life. And we just celebrated our 26-year anniversary on February the 3rd of this year.
Amazing.
So I'm a happy guy. What can I say?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, I talked to Trish for a few minutes, and she's a treasure, man.
Yeah, she's really quite
She's
something.
a Treasure Valley treasure.
Yeah. Yes, she is.
So I've watched a lot of your interviews, and one thing that, God, it really struck me. I watched the interview with you when you were talking about the kitchen scene with your brother. Why does he always talk in character now?
Because he doesn't really know who he is. And he envelops himself into these characters so that he doesn't have to reveal his true self to the public. My brother has spent an awful lot of time and money and effort in concealing his past and keeping his private life private. And now the world knows why he was doing that, okay? I had my suspicions for many, many years about Kevin's behavior. And it wasn't until Anthony Rapp came forward on October 30th, 2017. And at that moment in time, my brother's career was over. Hollywood had enough of his activities, you could say, and removed him. Hollywood doesn't care if you're a pedophile or a rapist or an abuser. They don't care as long as you don't get caught.
Until you get caught, right?
As soon as you get caught, you're out of the club,
Right.
And I've heard that Kevin is making or starring in a new movie coming out called The Gateway to the West, where it looks like he's playing some kind of a priest, and which is kind of creepy and it's
A little creepy, yeah.
So I guess he's trying to make a comeback, and we'll see if Hollywood's going to let him back in the club again. He's still got a number of court cases pending. I think he's still in trial in New York with Anthony Rapp. So I don't follow my brother like I used to when I was trying to rekindle a relationship with him for 40 years. As soon as the news broke in 2017, all my suspicions were answered, and I stopped watching his movies. I stopped caring about him, because in 2020, when my sister was talking to me back then, I asked her point blank, why won't Kevin have a relationship with me? And she goes, I'll tell you exactly why. And I quote, I'll never have a relationship with Randy because he reminds me of the past. That's it. Weak, but
Wow.
that's it. Okay, because I am the keeper of the secrets and the truth of the family. Okay. And when my book got published in 2017, I could have sworn the guy would sue me, but he didn't. He's only mentioned like maybe 5, 6 times in the book. The 5 times that I've seen him over the years, and probably maybe a couple of times because he won an Academy Award. Other than that, the book is not about Kevin. The book is about my life struggles with living in silence. So my brother did a good job for 40 years keeping his activities secret. What's disturbing to me about the whole incident is that for all those years, he had a group of people that were protecting him, buying off, getting
The
people
cronies.
payoffs, whatever. Okay. Those people are just as culpable as Kevin. Why all of a sudden did they get a conscience in 2017? Everybody bailed. His agent, movie projects, they had to reshoot an entire movie, all the money in the world, things like that. They just chopped him off. Okay. So it's sad that my brother had such control over people that he was able to manipulate them into lying for him. And getting back to your question, that's why he does all these let me be frank videos and things like that, because he doesn't know how to be himself.
It's very weird.
He tried
those videos.
Last video, he tried to be himself. He was sitting in front of a bookshelf and saying that he's working on himself and stuff like that. But it just, because I understand Kevin psychologically so well, it just looked fake.
Very.
It just didn't look real. It wasn't raw. There were no emotions. It was just him reading off of teleprompter, you know.
Right, right. And the follow-up videos from Joe Rogan, Inside Edition, like all sorts of, I went down a wormhole, and my gosh, it was very awkward. I saw a video of him going to a class in California when he went to drama school. Now, I guess Val Kilmer was in his class, and they showed the yearbook, and they showed it for about 2 seconds, and his thumb covered up the last name Fowler. And I watched the court proceedings, and when they said Kevin Fowler, you saw him kind of cringe. So there are 2 different people here. That's kind of what I see. There's Kevin Spacey and Kevin Fowler.
And at the moment, Kevin Spacey doesn't exist anymore. All that's left is Kevin Fowler. And he's going to have to learn to live with that before he could ever consider being Kevin Spacey again. He could have been one of the most brilliant character actors ever.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. And he threw it all away for self-gratification. And when I started reading some of the accounts of his victims, talk about chills running up my spine. They were so similar to the activities that my father did on me. And I finally came to the conclusion that I think Kevin was sexually abused by my father, but it all comes down to perception. The perception for me was it destroyed me. It's possible that the perception for Kevin was he liked it. It didn't bother him at all, because I knew he was gay back in the 70s. He just had that gay whatever they call it, gay radar,
The gaydar.
yeah, and I just knew, but I never said anything in my book about that. It's none of my business of and judging anyone because of their sexuality. I could care less. I love people because of who they are and what they represent. So unfortunately, my brother's got a long, hard road back to being normal. And on every interview, I always reach out to my brother going, hey, if you want to talk to me, I might actually be able to help you, but I'll never get a call from him because he can't even face himself. How could he face me? I was there. I witnessed our childhood and us growing up, okay? And I documented it the best I could in my book, and I'm sure there's little things that I have completely forgotten and blocked out because of my childhood. But I remember enough to know that even if it only happens once, it's too much. It's too many times, okay?
Yeah.
So my brother, watching how I was being raised, turned into a fucking mama's boy, okay? He just hung on to my mother and she guarded him with her protective wings her entire life. So by the time my brother, grew up, he was like an empty suit, a total empty vessel. He had no feelings or nothing. And a lot of people say that some of the best actors don't act, they just be themselves. Well, that might be true with some actors, but not all. And how do you explain Johnny Depp? The guy's got monster acting chops. Every character he plays, he never plays again. Never plays a character twice.
Right.
That's why I requested him to star in my screenplay, A Moment in Time, where he plays me, named Breck Longshore, and he has to deal with an alternative reality and future because of the paradoxes of time travel. So I've also requested that my brother be in the movie and play himself. But as of today, I don't think he has the acting chops to play a particular type of Kevin Fowler, okay?
Wow.
And a particular type of the new Kevin Fowler, okay? That would require another Johnny Depp, okay?
Wow.
So I put it out there because when I wrote the screenplays in 2020, I thought it would probably be the only movie role he's offered, okay? And I'd be more than happy to give him a second chance of redeeming himself. Just come forward, apologize to the public, apologize to your victims, have a relationship with your brother, okay? I am totally ex-nayed from the family. My sister won't speak to me, and I haven't talked to Kevin since my mother's funeral in 2004. Not a peep, okay? So once again, I reach out to Kevin, but it's all for naught, because he just doesn't want anything to do with me. And on one hand, I can understand why. I've been very critical on his behavior because he actually represents everything I'm fighting against.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's my own brother. How do you think that makes me feel? I'm brokenhearted inside. So how could I not help wanting to do something for him? I'm just trying to do what I think is right and not trying to drag him through the mud. But karma won't let you get away with something forever. There's always going to be that one morning when the karma gods wake up and say, that's it. It's time to pay the piper. Okay. And that's kind of where my brother is right now,
Sure. Well, let's talk about right now. Why are you interested in doing the podcast with me? Let's talk about that for a few.
Well, for one reason, I really like you.
Thank you.
I think that we're kindred spirits, and we both have had our
Issues.
lives filled with tragedy and issues, and we're both not afraid to talk about them.
Right.
You will reveal whatever you decide to reveal. Me, I'm an open book. I have nothing to hide because I lived it. Okay.
Yeah.
And if my life story can help another person just from this podcast, another soul is saved from the demons that occupy these people's souls. It's a horrible thing to go through your life frightened of everyone, trusting no one. It's really tragic. And that was the reason why I wrote the book, was to just help one more person along my journey.
And you know how many people you've helped.
Many.
I know people contact you, and that must feel fantastic for you.
Well, it makes me feel fantastic for them.
Exactly.
Me, I have no ego about who I am. I know exactly who I am. I know exactly all of my faults.
It took you a while.
It took me many years. Okay.
Yeah.
But I was finally able to get over it and be able to talk about it so that it might help other people. You know, you and I have had some very serious conversations over the last couple of months, you know, that the world has not been revealed to yet. And only you will be able to reveal it.
Right.
You know, it's my secret.
So we've got about 15 minutes, I think, left. I want to talk about the first book that you read after not reading for years. What book was that?
Chariots of the Gods.
Now, every day you seem to change your profile picture, and you have some amazing, pictures of UFOs, universe. Talk to me about your fascination with UFOs.
Well, back in 1969, me and my brother actually saw, or what we thought was, a UFO. It was a big, huge green cylinder, looked like what they call nowadays a Tic Tac, and it was glowing green. And me and my brother were just sitting there looking at it. You know, we were just kids.
No shit.
And I was only like what, 13, 14, 13 years old, you know, at the time. So I became fascinated with them because I really like history. And the more I read about history, the more I realized how mainstream archaeologists have a tendency to put a period at the end of a sentence. It's like they built a house that has all these holes in the walls, and they just put picture frames over them to cover up. That'll work. And that's a quote from some episode from Ancient Aliens. And
that's great, though.
You know, I thought it was a good quote. So I read that book and became really fascinated with it, and started reading more about history and trying to understand how primitive people could move these monolithic stones and make the pyramids when they were still in the Bronze Age, and that stuff wouldn't even cut granite. How they lift up these huge stones and put them in place. And mainstream archaeologists said, well, they used ramps and they used wooden rollers. Well, wooden roller wouldn't withstand the width of the the crushing depth of massive stones. So it started making me question everything about ancient history, and really, where did we come from? Why are we here? Where are we going? And what's wrong with the human race? Why are we so consumed with greed and power? What happened to taking care of your fellow man? I just am disgusted with the planet as a whole because of the way people treat each other. Family members are broken up over silly politics, okay?
Yeah.
Families break up over secrets that have been swept under the carpet for 50 years, and people keep doing the same stupid shit over and over again and wondering why they make no progress in their life, you know? So that's why I started getting interested in UFOs, because it was like, gosh, there's got to be more to this story than what I've been taught. And when I went back to college, it was really quite an eye opener to finally get a complete formal education and let me see the world from a different point of view. You know, most people go through their life with blinders on, only knowing that one station that they're assigned to. For me, there was a moment in time where I was actually able to step away from myself and look at the life in a completely different light. And I decided to use that experience to my advantage. I was going to take advantage of it. And that's why I wrote the book. I figured, you know, I have nothing to lose. I have everything to hide, but so much to gain if I can articulate my truth and what happened to me as a child. And so my transformation continues. But in the last 26 years, I've been able to heal myself enough to be able to talk to complete strangers and do what I can to help, you know.
You're awesome. that Bill Murray meme is or GIF, whatever. That's the best.
Yes.
All right, Randy. Well, what do you think? You want to talk? You want to talk to Laird Niven, the archaeologist, next week?
Yes, I got a great question for him about those big boulders that are found on the island that are in the shape of star constellations.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah,
you know,
I love that.
I really want to know, you know, his insight on what did he think when they started mapping the island, you know, and is he going to continue to do the show, even though it takes one more person to die?
They're on the island right now.
They're on the island now?
Yeah.
You know, the rumor is, the prophecy is that X amount of people have to die before the treasure is revealed. And I think there's one more person.
There is.
I hope it's not him. But then again, there could be no treasure there at all.
Exactly.
You know.
But it makes for a good show, man.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I like it. I'm looking forward to him and whoever else you have on the docket. You know.
Got about 20 people lined up. So, wow. Yeah. And okay. I found them all like I found you. Just being myself on Facebook and saying hello. You know?
That's all you can be. People will either accept you or reject you based on their own life experiences and prejudices. Yeah. And you know, it shouldn't matter to you. You know,
it doesn't. About that. I mean, you know. I found you, man. That's enough for me, my man.
Well, we knew each other for many, many years, even though we didn't see each other.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Randy B. Fowler.
Thank you very much.
You can buy his book on Amazon.
Correctamundi, yes.
Do you have a copy of the book you could show?
I'd have to leave the screen.
Yeah, that's fine. A Moment in Time, Living in the Shadows?
That's correct. It's on Amazon Kindle. And like I said, there's an electronic version in color and black and white paperback. And there it is.
So okay. Please support the show. And oh, by the way, the t-shirts. I'm telling you, man, those t-shirts, that's gold, man.
I'm going to let you handle that end of it.
All right, my brother.
Peace. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Talk
Love
to
you, man.
soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, brother.